Good afternoon, everybody. It's pretty windy out here in the woods. It's nice out though, it's beautiful. The topic for my video today is racism, prejudices, and biases. It's not a topic that I care to really touch. It's a very sensitive topic, and I try to stay away from it because I'd rather live in the solution than the problem. But I guess some people have an issue with my not talking about the problem and maybe just a solution. But honestly, nothing gets solved by living in a problem. We know what the problem is. The problem is racism. How do we change it? So let's be the solution. You know, our anger, hatred, and things we struggle with, the injustices in the legal system, with law enforcement, the shootings and the brutalities that have happened, injustices that people that are in the news, that are being investigated. I should say alleged injustices, because you know I don't like to say that, you know, I don't want to say one way or the other there's what's right or wrong until an investigation is complete. And we have to be able to trust in some justice system, and not all justice systems are straight as narrow either, you know. And that's where there's a lot of problems and a lot of struggles, you know. One of the biggest gripes I see right now going on in social media is back and forth. Black lives matter, all lives matter, white lives matter. You know, stop, people. Really, please stop. It's getting sickening, it's getting old, and it's getting boring. Black Lives Matter was established because of the brutalities that were happening to black men by law enforcement. It wasn't established to say that black lives are more important than white, yellow, red lives. It's saying that their lives matter too. Stop brutalizing us. Okay? Get it. If there's any questions, feel free to contact me. You know, I just want to clarify that Black Lives Matters was established not to say that they're more important than anybody else, but to say that their lives matter too. Stop brutalizing us. You know, so let's not make it a race thing. Let's not sit there and say, well, white lives matter too. Well, yeah, white lives matter. White lives matter. And when you got cops kneeling on the back of your necks and shooting you in the back 8 times that look criminal, not saying that they are, they could be justified in a court of law if you know the whole story. I don't know the whole story, so I'm not making a conclusion. I'm not saying who's right or wrong. I'm just saying it looks bad. When you see it on camera, when you know, when you can try to say it to yourself, how do you justify shooting a person in the back 8 times? I don't know if you can. That's a tough one. But anyway, outside of that, what I'm saying is there's a lot of brutalities that are being done to black folks. If we want change, we have to be the change. So all you folks of different colors outside of black, don't get ass hurt over the terminology Black Lives Matter. It's not done to say that your life is any less important. What it's saying is that black people are being brutalized and treated unjust, and that their lives matter. That their lives matter too. Just as yours do. Just as everybody else's does. But when there's brutalities that are done to our Native people, to our Asian people that are in the news, and it begins to become quite obvious, or if it's done to white people, then we will create. Then let's jump on that bandwagon too, and say, you know what? White lives matter because they're being brutalized in the streets by the cops. Yellow lives matter because they're being brutalized and mistreated by cops. Red lives matter because they're being brutalized and treated unjustly by the police. Now, at the same time, keep in mind, it isn't the police that are brutalizing or ingesting. It's the, you can't blame it on the uniform or the department. You have to blame it on the individual. You have to hold the individual responsible. Now, if you have a department that turns their back and looks the other way or tries to justify it, and they know that there's a wrong that was committed, then they are just as guilty. But you and I both know, and everybody in the world knows, that there's racism and prejudice out there everywhere. Some of it's hidden better than the others. Some of it is blatant. If you go into South Dakota, for example, it's like going into a third world country. You investigate. If you investigate, you send in investigators to investigate the state of South Dakota and the federal government, you will find that Native American men and women out there get harsher penalties for the same things that non-natives do. Think I'm kidding? Investigate. Look into it. Go into the prison systems and see if you find non-natives in there with sentences as long as some of the natives for the same thing, that are in for the same thing. If you take two natives on the same, you take a native person and a non-native person on the same charges, the native guy is going to get hammered a lot harder, and that's a fact. You may not want to admit it, you may want to even look at it, but investigate it and you'll see what I'm saying is true. There's injustices and biases everywhere, and until we change it and put a stop to it, it won't stop. But let me tell you that destroying people's property, hurting people that are trying to defend their property, and stealing and looting things that don't belong to you, that is not about Black Lives Matter. It does not represent the voice of those who are saying there's injustices being done to all people, to black folks in the street. It is not just black folks that are destroying and rioting and looting either. So, we can all stop pointing fingers there. Don't let it become a race thing. Let's not let it go too far and get carried away. We have a responsibility to each other. We have family, we have friends that are non-native, non-black. We have white friends, we have black friends, we have yellow friends, we have red friends. Each of you. I'm speaking in general about all of us. We all are one people. We're one family. We're all related. And in the Lakota teachings, they say "Matakayase," all my relations, meaning all of us, all people, we're all related. Anything with a spirit, with a life, we are related to it. That is a native teaching. You walk into the woods, these leaves, this tree has a life. It needs oxygen, it needs water, it needs sunlight to live. It's proven that plants grow better when they're showing affection. Horses think and feel just like people. Your fur buddies are just like your family. We have a responsibility to each other, to the person next to you. We all come from a past. We come from individual pasts, and we come from histories. There's histories in our past, peoples who come from a history in our past. Some of us have been victims of oppressions. Some of us have been brutalized by governments, by peoples. If we hold hatred and animosities, grudges against those people, then we promote hatred, racism, and prejudice. In order to heal and start living in the solution, we all have to be a part of the solution. which is in the here and now and tomorrow, not in yesterday. We all have to be willing to forgive yesterday. Forgive the incidents of yesterday. Um, speak up for unity and justice. But don't be destructive while doing it. Be the voice of reason, be the voice of truth. Let the Creator speak through you, don't speak yourself. Don't let it become about you. Always let it be about the people. Know the difference when it's about you and when it's about the people. It's like that saying, how can you live for the people if you're busy living for yourself? You know, you can start out in a good way, but it can develop and become a personal agenda, and then it becomes about you. You started out with a good mind and a good heart, but that's what we got to watch it for. We have to be real careful because we're all just human and we can all fall short. We can all do that. We can all let it become about us, and then we can all end up developing our own personal agenda. And when we develop our own personal agenda, then it becomes about us. And there's nothing about that that becomes about the people, and that becomes helpful. It becomes more hurtful than anything. So we have a huge responsibility. If you're in a public eye and you're going to stand up and be the voice of the people, then you better make sure what that voice is and what it represents. Because you're either going to help or you're going to hurt people, especially if you got a bunch of people that look up to you. You're going to hurt or you're going to help, you know. And that's hard because any of us can fall short. I'm only a human being. I'm only a man. There's people that look up to me, and I never realized, I guess, how many, because I've never looked to try to get people to look up to me, but to try to find myself and my path in life and what my responsibility is to this life that I live, whatever's left of it. And what I've found, that my path is a spiritual path, and my path is to help people, okay? And in the process of doing that, there are people that do look up to me. And because they do, I have a huge responsibility to them. But at the same time, remember, what I put out there today is going to stay here long after I'm gone. That's the huge responsibility, because let's say I'm a public figure, all right? Let's say if I'm a public figure, whether I was a football player, basketball player, baseball player, I'm in a public eye and I'm a public figure. And let's say your children look up to me, they admire me, and they want to be just like me. They're going to pay real close attention to the way I think, to what I believe, and how I feel. They're going to adopt those things. If I'm racist, prejudiced, or have hatred, they're going to adopt that. Long after I'm gone, they're going to breed that. They're going to pass that on. I have a huge responsibility, you know. And if what you're breeding out into the world is hatred, then I just say, God, Creator, have mercy on your soul. Because what you do now, you will answer for later. Whether you want to believe it or accept it or not, I could care less. You will. And unfortunately, and gratefully, I guess, maybe I won't have to witness you paying for it and answering for it, you know. But there's things also that I've done in my life and in my past that I'm going to have to answer for. I'm no saint. I will have to stand and answer for everything that I've done too. Or, well, maybe in a sense I can, you know, I believe I'm still going to answer for them. Some people say, you know, we're forgiven. We ask for forgiveness. We're forgiven. Well, I ask for forgiveness, but I believe that our life is like we're walking through this world. And as we're walking through this world and we're journeying through it, we're making choices and decisions. And at the end, we're going to sit down with the Creator, and He's going to, almost like a parent, you know, sit down and say, well, child, what have you learned today? What choices and decisions have you made? This is what you were supposed to accomplish. Let's see how you did. And then they start adding up the sums. Start taking a look at the choices and decisions you made in your life. and whether they helped or hurt people, well, then you have to answer for them. My uncle, I have this Uncle Bill, my Uncle Bill. When I was young and wild, my cousin Bill, his son, he said, my son looks up to you. He said, and the favor I need to ask you is a huge favor. Because he looks up to you, and he wants to be so much like you, he says, please be a better influence around my boy. Don't teach him the things that you're putting out there right now. I don't want him to be, I don't want him to do the things and be the person that you are right now. That was hard to hear, but it was the truth. I was a bad influence, and I know what it's like to be a bad influence. And today I have a huge responsibility to put out better examples for your children, for the kids that look up to me, for people that look up to me, to be a better example than what I've ever been in the past. You know, to be the voice of truth, be the voice of reason, be the voice of love and compassion. To legitimately care and love each and every one of you, and care about what happens to you. And that has no color. None at all. It has no sexual orientation. No political orientation. No personal orientation. I love each and every one of you, and I care about you and what happens to you. I will always do my best to be the last one to ever stand and be judgmental towards anyone because of the choices and decisions that they've made in their life, but maybe rather try to help them understand better choices and decisions. I'll never be perfect. I'll always struggle with my own wants, desires, and weaknesses myself, you know, and constantly looking at them and trying to change them and better them. I will trip up over myself from time to time, just as we all will, and we have to learn. We have to be willing to learn and take a look at what we did wrong. It's like an alcoholic sobering up, who's got every good intentions to stay sober, but once in a while he may relapse and fall short, and then be really hard and critical on himself, which serves no purpose. You know, it's such as life. You know, don't be too hard on yourself. Try to be a better human being to each and every person around you. That's how we heal. That's how we live in a solution. And that's the only way we're going to change, is changing our ideas and the way we think, and the things that we tell ourselves, and the things that we tell the world around us, and our responsibility. The things that we tell ourselves about the responsibility that we have to the world around us. We have a huge responsibility. I proudly say my family is black, my family is red, my family is yellow, and my family is white. And we are all connected. I love all you Republicans. I love all you Democrats. Whatever your political views are, I love and care about all you. Doesn't mean I have to agree with them, but I still love and care about you. Unless your actions are really dark, then I probably ain't going to care about you so much, but I'll pray for you. I wanted to say something though about everything that is seen on social media. We laugh and we joke around about it, but you know, when it really comes down to it, you know, it isn't really a laughing matter, I guess, and some people are going to get hurt and get offended over somebody else's laughs or humor. and I guess we have a huge responsibility to be sympathetic and understanding of them too, and their feelings. Um, and I can't say I always do that, but because I really, in a trying time, in a trying world right now, I try to mix things up with humor. Um, but at the end of the day, nobody else has got a right to judge me either. I'm still just a man, and I'm me, and I have a sense of humor, and sometimes that can be twisted. Um, and nobody has got a right to judge me, but the Creator Himself. And I will still continue helping people. I will still continue caring and loving and saying prayers for people. It don't make me a bad person because I might not meet everybody's expectations. That's okay. I'm not here to be your truth. I'm here to find my own. Understand that. Don't put expectations on me because I'll never meet your expectations. And I'm not here to meet your expectations. I'm here to meet my creators. And I'm here to learn. And I'm here to learn about myself. And I'm here to try to be as honest about myself as I can, and to accept things for what they are. And understand that my responsibility to the world around me is through my honesty and through my learning about myself. So I hope you all understand the message that I was trying to get across today about living in the solution. Don't live in the past. If we hold animosities about what's happened yesterday, we'll never heal from it. We'll never heal from it. Nothing will ever get accomplished through hatred, through anger, through destruction. If we want peace, we have to live and breathe peace. We have to teach peace. Our message and our voice has to be peace. If we want forgiveness, it has to be the same thing. We have to give forgiveness if we want forgiveness. If we want to heal, we have to help be a part of that healing process. Be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. Don't judge and criticize, don't point fingers. But ask yourself what it is you can do spiritually that'll give something positive back to the world around you. If you see something dark around you, address it. Pray about it. Pray for protection from it. That's how we do it. But be the solution. Life is good, and life can be good. I agree with a lot of things that people are trying to accomplish right now. You know, if we want to change what's going on in the world right now, you have to start from the top. You can't start from the bottom. Because everything from the top trickles down. From the federal government, to the states, to the cities, to the counties, to the municipalities. It trickles down. To law enforcement, to the enforcement of that on the street. If you have prejudices from the top, it's going to trickle down all the way through every branch of government. So, if there's prejudices going on in law enforcement right now, law enforcement isn't the only ones that need to be investigated. This goes all the way up through your district attorneys, through your judges, through the court systems, through governments, through your senators, congressmen. It goes through all your politicians. It goes through everyone. You'll never get rid of it. But we're supposed to be able to trust in justice and truth. And there hasn't been that. And this country is headed to a dark, bad place unless they open their eyes. Unless the government opens their eyes, the world opens its eyes and says, you know, enough's enough. And that's what's happening. You know, when I hear Black Lives Matter, I don't hear that they're saying that their lives matter more than mine or anybody else's. What they're saying is there's some brutalities being done to their people, and their lives matter. I get that, and I understand it, and I respect that. And you should too. Don't make it about you, and don't make it personal, and don't create your own personal agenda and saying, well, white lives matter too. Well, yes, all lives matter, but you're missing the whole point. You're missing the whole point if that's the case, and that's what you're saying. I'm not here to argue with you or debate with you. I'm just saying, keep it simple. It's not about what white lives matter, all lives matter, Black lives matter. Stop making it about those three. Things happen in a world that started a chain of events. And somebody created Black Lives Matter, said Black Lives Matter. Okay. The terminology, Black Lives Matter, means that their lives matter too. There seems to be continued atrocities done to the people, to black people, and their lives matter. Well, in my opinion, all lives are one life, one creation, one people, one race. But this is what happens when the whole world don't see it that way and don't think that way, and there's division. Then you have division. You have people that have to stand up for themselves. Don't condemn or criticize a people because they chose to have a right to speak up for themselves. And just as you say, you can't judge all cops for the actions of a few, which is 100% correct. You cannot judge all law enforcement by the actions of few. At the same time, you can't sit and say that people that are rioting, loitering, looting, and destroying properties represent Black Lives Matter, or the injustices that are happening on the street. No, I don't care what you say. That's a personal and somebody's own personal agenda. Believe that. That is their own personal agenda. Destruction, hatred, theft. There's nothing about that that talks about unity, about justice, and about being a voice of truth and reason. So I support Black Lives Matter, 100%, and what they stand for. I do not support destruction, violence, or theft as a means of getting that message across or that point across. If that's how you choose to do it, then you got your own personal agenda. And there's nothing anybody can say that'll change my thoughts and views on that. You know, if you're destructive and your actions are criminal, you deserve to be locked up. Your voice, you know, we want justice. We got to be a part of that justice. We can't create injustice and then ask for justice. You know, if there's injustices going on, we don't answer that with injustices. We aren't going to get justice that way. That's like answering hatred with hatred. All you do is get more hatred. Nothing will ever get resolved that way, ever. We have to be the change. We have to be the solution, and we have to be the voice of reason. Each and every one of us. So stop making it on the social media. Stop already. Stop. Stop with the white lives matter. With all lives matter. And making it a race thing, because it's not a race thing. What became a race thing was when they see this happening to these black folks they see these injustices and what appears to be injustices. Then we all have a responsibility to each other. White, yellow, red, all have a responsibility to come into support of the black. We all form that sacred circle, and we're all related. We all have to come to justice. We all got to support each other. So yeah, you white folks ain't excluded. You're a part of that circle, and you're right in there with us, and you should be just as supportive. Saying, yes, black lives matter. They're a part of the circle too. And they matter just like white lives. They matter just like red lives. They matter just like yellow lives. Yes, black lives matter too. So let's be the voice of justice and reason and truth, and help bring that unity and justice to creates the peace. We're all one people, and we all have a responsibility to each other. So I hope that kind of clarifies a little bit, and I hope I make sense in what I'm saying to you when I say, to the Creator, we're all one people. Everybody matters. But with the injustice that's going on in the world, and with the black folks saying Black Lives Matter, they're not saying it and saying that they matter more than you. They're just saying there's some great injustices being done to our people, and our lives matter too. Simple, isn't it? Don't let somebody's racist, prejudice ideas turn it into a race thing and create it and make it a darker thing. Let's quash that right now. Let's quash that. And we quash that by forwarding this message and saying it just like I did. It isn't Black Lives Matter saying that they're more important than everybody else. What they're saying is that there is an injustice being done to black folks, and their lives matter too. The word is too also. So yeah, stop making it about you. I can sit back and say, well, red lives matter too. Stop making it about me. This isn't about me. This isn't about me. It isn't about my people. This is about what's happening to black people. And it's my responsibility to come to their assistance and say, you're right. If there's an injustice being done, then we need to stand together. Everybody that's a part of that sacred circle, the black, red, yellow, and white all need to stand together. It isn't about separation, it's about unity. And when we get that, healing will happen. Things will change, and justice will start happening. Investigation